Hello, welcome to Mental Health for You. My name is Randall Crouch, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor in practice for 20 years. In my years of practice, I've treated mood disorders, trauma, addiction, relationship issues, and more. The lessons I provide here are for informational and educational purposes only. They are not intended to be therapy or to replace therapy. If you find that you need some help, I encourage you to reach out and find a licensed mental health professional that can assist you in your needs. This episode is on building a healthy marriage. Even if you're not married, if you're cohabitating, you live together, you have a life partner, the lesson's still valid for that. And these tools can be integrated into a non-traditional relationship, if you will. One of the things that I start out with my couples when they come to couples counseling, 3 questions. The first question, is there any physical violence? Physical violence is not something that is likely to be overcome. If you hit or you get hit by your spouse, that eliminates physical safety and security. And when security is lost, the relationship is lost. And my 20 years of doing this and literally thousands of couples, all of the couples that had physical violence, they did not work out. The relationships failed, as they should, because you lose your sense of security. And in one case, unfortunately, after I told the wife in this case that her husband was going to kill her, he ended up killing her, and then he killed himself. Very, very sad. And when you see it in person, it brings it home for you. And I've had women in particular tell me it's so hard to get out. He's going to change. He tells me he loves me. All of the things that you hear, and they're making excuses for unacceptable behavior. This marriage or relationship will never be healthy. Never, ever. And it's just cut bait, get out. Women in particular who are being abused, I strongly encourage you to reach out to your local women's advocate shelter and get out of the relationship in a safe manner, okay? All right, the second question I ask is, are you or your spouse miserable in the relationship? Misery is a sign of hopelessness, and a lot of times a marriage has gone sour, and it's been sour for so long that it's almost a routine of roommates, and we're in this for convenience, but I'm not happy, and you're not happy, and it's not bringing joy. It's highly unlikely to ever bring joy once that's spoiled. You don't bring spoiled milk back to being good milk again. You move on and you learn from that, and you thrive in the next relationships. And sometimes that's not what you want to hear, but that's the truth. All right, the third question, are you willing to do anything within reason to save the marriage and or relationship? Sometimes a spouse is not. I love who I am. I'm not going to change, and nothing you can do is going to make that happen. If you or your spouse is not willing to change, then the marriage is not likely to succeed and or be healthy. So you have to answer these questions truthfully and be willing to accept the consequences that come from the answers. All right. I put this slide up because I heard it so many times. I have couples come in, they sit down. It's almost always a woman who would say, well, marriage is hard work. We just have to work harder at it, right? So I decided this slide is key. And their mind is always blown when I tell them marriage is not hard work. Healthy marriages are not hard work. That's wrong. Toxic marriages are hard work. You got to work really hard for that. Your purpose as a spouse is to bring joy to the relationship, not to your partner, but to the relationship, which is both of you, and not cause harm. Doing that does not indicate hard work at all in any way, shape, or form. It's not hard work to bring joy to a relationship unless you don't want to do it. And that goes back to that third question I asked. Are you willing to do anything within reason? It's very reasonable to want to make your spouse happy, to want to have a healthy relationship, to want to have happiness yourself. If you're not willing to do that, or you're incapable of doing that, the relationship is likely not going to succeed or be healthy. What is a healthy marriage? I get this question a lot too. What's it look like, this, that, and the other? And I kind of have a circular response to this. A healthy marriage is one where both partners follow this recipe that's set up for a successful marriage. And we're going to get into that recipe in detail on what do you need to do, what does your spouse need to do in order to have a truly healthy relationship. There's a key traits of a healthy versus a toxic marriage. The first trait of a healthy marriage is open communication. It's paramount to everything. I have a whole lesson on intimate partner communication. I'd encourage you to watch that. The toxic opposite of that is passive aggressiveness, stonewalling, using silent treatment, name calling, gaslighting, or manipulating, among all the negative traits that can happen. And that's just sign after sign after sign of a toxic marriage. And I use the word toxic because that's the best way to describe it. The toxicity is killing the marriage or the relationship. Sometimes it's killing one of the spouses emotionally, spiritually, sometimes even physically. All right. The next trait that's healthy is mutual respect. If you can't have respect for one another, what do you have? You have basically power and control or disrespect. And I'm going to go into power and control. All right. So what you're seeing now is what's called a power and control wheel. And typically what I would do in sessions is I would give this to both partners and I'd ask them, is there anything, even a hint of anything in this power and control wheel that's going on? Coercion and threats, intimidation, emotional abuse, isolation, minimizing, denying, blaming, using the children as pawns, economic abuse, or male privilege. If any of this is happening, the marriage is not healthy, obviously. Some of these things can be overcome. The behaviors can be corrected. The physical abuse, though, again, we go back to that, it's just not likely to happen. Even if the person changes and they really aren't physical again, that seed of doubt has been sowed in the abused partner and will always be there. You're just not likely to ever get rid of that fear. And healthy relationships are not fear-based. They're never fear-based. They're always based on love and adoration. Another healthy trait that we look for is physical, financial, and emotional security. And we've been talking about that a lot. Physical security is just that. You don't hit or hurt. You don't allow your partner to be hit or hurt by anyone else. Financial security means that the money that comes into the household is managed effectively by both partners. Emotional security means that we're going to use positive and uplifting language. We're not going to use derogatory words or language, name calling, things like that. Toxic trait includes a lack of overall security. So there may be physical violence, intimidation, threats, throwing things, punching walls, stuff like that. There may be financial mismanagement on one or both of the partners, and there may be a sense of emotional insecurity in the sense that we're calling names, we're using derogatory statements, we're raising our voice, things like that. Key trait of healthy, again, is quality time. Spending time with each other in a healthy way is very beneficial to the relationship overall. If you're self-isolating or you're avoiding your partner, you stay busy at work, you stay out in the garage, you do stuff out there, you're avoiding your partner, that's problematic if it's done too much. Now, granted, there's a need sometimes for, and I talk about self-care a lot, being able to do your hobbies and things like that, but there has to be time for each other, and we're going to talk about that more at length. Last healthy trait that I look for anyway is adoration. Do you adore your partner? Can you show this adoration? Adoration is unconditional love, and I've got a slide at the end of this. I'm going to show you about that. A toxic trait of marriage is that you'll see a sense of ownership instead of partnership. This is my wife or my husband, and they emphasize that in the sense that I own this person. That's not the case. It should be an equal partnership. When I introduce my wife, she's my wife, but she's not mine. She's her own person that can go do whatever she wants to do, and be who she wants to be. And it's not my place to control her or tell her what she can or can't do. Conversely, it's not her place to tell me what I can or can't do either. When there's a mutual respect, we go back to that. We don't have concerns that this partner is going to go do things that would damage the marriage or the relationship. What is the secret to a healthy marriage? I get this question a lot too. And again, I don't think it's really a secret. It's just following the recipe. So we're going to go step by step on what the recipe that I've come up with. And caveat, when I utilize this in therapy, most of my couples need 3 to 5 sessions. And when they implement these things, I would say 85% of those relationships grew into healthy relationships and the marriages stayed together. The other 15%, sometimes oil and water just aren't going to mix, and you can't emulsify it no matter what. And sometimes it's best to part ways, and you're going to get that. And that's those tough choices that you have to make as a couple with your open and honest communication to talk about, is our marriage worth saving? Can it be saved? These are things to discuss with a licensed marriage counselor as well. All right, I have a whole episode on effective communication. It's an episode on intimate partner communication. I would encourage you to watch that. I don't want to be redundant and repeat all these things again on this episode. We're going to ensure physical, financial, and emotional security. We're going over that a little bit again, not a lot. This is pretty self-evident that if I don't feel secure where I live and who I'm with, then it's never going to be a healthy situation, right? I use this analogy when I talk to the guys about it. If you are going to work and you step into your office or whatever, and you get jumped by 3 guys and they beat the hell out of you, and you're a little battered and bruised, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? And you go home and you can try to recover, and then you get ready to go back to work. You're going to be very hesitant to go back in that office again. Any person would. Their fight-flight response is going to be up. They're not really going to know what's going on, and they're not going to be comfortable in the office. Even if they get past that door and they get past the trauma of being attacked, they're going to sit in their office. They're going to be waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for something bad to happen again. Yes, that can all be processed in therapy with a good trauma therapist, but when it happens in a relationship, you don't really get to leave the office. You're in the relationship 24/7, 365. So you're always exposed to that traumatic environment, and that's not healthy for the relationship. All right. The hardest part of this security, for most people, and men in particular, is the emotional security, because men will often say things without thinking about it, and I have a whole episode on that. If you look through all the episodes on Stop, Think, and Act, and Think Before You Speak and stuff like that. So, because we'll say something and we may mean it we may genuinely mean it, but it comes across as harsh. So we have to be careful with what we're saying, and we have to complete what we're saying as well. And again, I go back to the intimate partner communication. Some of this will make more sense. In terms of financial security, we just have to make sure that the money that's coming into the household is managed effectively. And this is on both partners as well. We can't have somebody spending more than they make. You can't make bad decisions in terms of your financial goals. You don't want to have a large amount of debt. You want to make sure that, again, the income stream that you have covers your basic expenses every month, and not live off credit cards and things like that. There are tons of financial advisors that you can talk to that can help you set a budget. I'm not going to get into that depth on this episode. All right, learn how to adore your spouse. Adoration is unconditional love. I said that before. So this slide here, I put up a picture of grandma because, in my mind anyway, a proper grandma adores her grandchildren. They really don't see their grandchildren as doing wrong, even when they mess up. There's no judgment, there's no conditions on that love. It's just a purest form of love that you can have. If grandma doesn't work for you, then if you have a pet dog, your dog adores you. Even if you yell at it or maybe kick it or whatever, sometimes they will still be like, you're my person. Now, even a dog, if it gets beat enough, isn't going to be your person. So keep that in mind. Don't beat your dog. Be nice. Dogs are awesome. All right. Spend quality time together. So this is the prescription that I give. Once a week for 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to do something that I call a therapy date. And it's really simple. It doesn't cost you any money. It just costs you time. So you need to be attentive. You need to be in that moment with your partner. We're going to talk about things that are positive. We're not going to talk about anything that's negative. No hot button topics, no problems in the marriage, no problems in the household, no problems at work, nothing like that. We're going to talk about things that are positive. Did you hear a new song on the radio today? Did you hear a song that made you think about something from the past? Did you find a new recipe? Is there some kind of a festival or event going on that you want to go see? What should we do on our romantic date, which I'm going to get into? Those types of things, okay? There's plenty of positive things to talk about, even if you've been together 15, 20, 25, 35, 40, 50 years. It doesn't matter. Always something to talk about. You just have to make that little bit of effort to find it. All right. Once a month, at least, you want to go on a romantic date. We're going to kind of do the same thing. We're going to go out, maybe have a nice dinner, maybe play a game or something, or go see a concert, or whatever it is you're going to do on your romantic date. But we're not going to talk about anything negative. So we're looking at, 15, 20 minutes for the therapy date, nothing negative, once a week, to 2 to 3 hours of a romantic date, nothing negative, once a month. We're learning how to spend quality time with each other. All right. Once a quarter, and there's a big caveat here. There's one, if you can afford this, and you have the time to be able to do it. And I'll get into that in a second. Once a quarter, you need to go on a weekend getaway. Okay. So now we've gone from 15 to 20 minutes to 2 to 3 hours to a whole weekend. And we're not going to talk about anything negative. We're just going to hang out. We're going to be friends. We're going to have fun. We're going to let our inner 5-year-old come out and play this time. All right. Now, some people say, well, I can't afford to take a weekend getaway every quarter. Hey, I get it. You can't. So do it once every 6 months then, a couple times a year. We got a nice weekend, 3-day weekend. Let's go here. Let's go there, wherever. Let's say you can't get the time away or you don't have a babysitter or whatever it is. Take a day, a full day. Leave early in the morning. Go somewhere that's out of your comfort zone. Hang out with each other and then come home. That's a lot more affordable, and a lot of times it's a lot easier to get childcare for that. This is the work of a healthy relationship, by the way. Going and doing fun stuff together. This is the work. We're spending quality time together. Blows my mind when couples don't want to do that. Then you don't really want to have a healthy relationship. All right, we're going to show respect. Respecting your partner means showing compassion, empathy, love, kindness, consideration, open-mindedness, and honor. We never use derogatory language at or about our partner, our spouse. Again, if you go back and watch the Intimate Partner Communication episode, I talked at length about this. Consideration. We're going to be considerate of our partner. Consideration means being thoughtful and sensitive to the needs of your partner, okay, or your spouse. This means we take the time to understand their perspective and we act accordingly. We're going to be positive and uplifting. No one wants to be in a room with someone who's a Debbie Downer, a negative person. We just don't. We can take it for a little bit, but then we can't. If it's every day, constantly the same thing, no one is that strong to take that. And it's just going to break them eventually. And if it breaks them, it's going to break the relationship. So we need to tolerate when our spouse has a mood, and they need to tolerate when we have a mood. But if we're having moods more often that are negative than positive, we need to go seek help and maybe get a depression screening. I would encourage you to do that because there are new and improved treatments for depression. Some of them are curative. And so I would encourage you to reach out and find a medical professional and or a mental health professional that could help you with that. And it's not me, I'm retired. All right, we're going to embrace mindful living. So when we live in the moment, it causes our existence to slow down, which is cool. And as you get older, you appreciate that. It causes us to be anxiety free. So you're more zen than not. There's no stress in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, in this moment. And it's full of peacefulness. And that's key. And when you do this and your spouse can do this, you're going to have a very peaceful and healthy relationship. The relationship is the second most important thing. Now you're like, what? This is about how to have a healthy relationship, how to have a healthy marriage. The marriage should come first. It does not. You come first. Your self-care comes first. You have to be selfish in order to be selfless, okay? If you don't take care of you, how can you take care of anyone else in your life? And this holds true for your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, your family, whoever it is. You have to be good first. And part of that is standing up and saying, hey, I'm not good today. I've got to get myself good. I can't do anything. Learning how to say no when necessary. All right. We're going to utilize honesty. Healthy relationships are built on a foundation of honesty and trustworthiness. If you started out your relationship on a lie, it has not got a strong foundation. You may need to rebuild that if possible. And keep that foundation of honesty and truthfulness going on. So it's really key. If we can't trust our partner, our spouse, how can we have a healthy relationship? We have to be able to trust what they say. We have to be able to trust that what they're doing is not causing harm to the relationship, but bringing joy to the relationship. And here's the recipe all at once. If you do these things, it takes 3 to 4 weeks to start to see the changes. You need to do them individually for yourself. You need to utilize effective communication. You need to ensure security. You need to learn how to adore your spouse, etc., etc. Your spouse needs to do the same thing. You don't need to tell your spouse to do that. You need to do it. And that's, a big part of improving your marriage is introspection, is looking in the mirror. What can I do? How can I be better? How can I make things work better? Not so much as what can they do? What should they do? What are they not doing? If you get focused on that, you're not focusing on the right thing. All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.